Hello and welcome to this James Ebike, where today we're taking a look at Momentum's Voya E Plus 3. This is a fitness bike with a slight assist motor to be able to make the most out of your commute or your fitness ride, wrapped up into a package that is sub 40 pounds and sub $2,000. A pretty slick bike that I look forward to sharing with you, so let's check it out. Talking Momentum Voya, and we've got the lights right here on the screen and the sync drive motor out back, because that's right, this is an e-bike. Even though to most people you take a look at it and you probably couldn't even tell. The only thing that's showing off that it's an e-bike is that rear motor and potentially a slightly thicker down tube than you're used to. Although I'll tell you what, this size down tube is getting more common even on analog bikes, so it's pretty hard to tell. Now this is pretty exciting because this bike retails for $2,000, but it's been on sale for $1,500, which makes it an absolutely incredible buy, especially when you compare it to some of the direct-to-consumer brands. Now, in case you're not familiar, Momentum, the brand of this bike, is the e-bike and mobility brand for Giant. So this is a Giant bicycle produced by them, and Momentum is kind of their city and commuter lineup, where they make some analog bikes and several e-bikes, and this really rolls into that group with an ethos around mobility, around fitness, and around having a lightweight e-bike for mobility. And this bike is made out of aluminum with an aluminum fork up front. It, of course, has down tube and seat tube water bottle mounts. Out back, we've got a cafe lock setup, which is cool to see. Of course, rack setups, fender setup, and the ability to run a direct mount kickstand. But one of the most neat things in my mind is something that we don't get to take advantage of with a stock bike in the US, but you can convert it over, or even some of the Euro versions of this bike have it. You see how that chainstay is split? What you're looking at is you can separate the upper and lower portion of the seat stay, so seat stay from where it goes into the dropout, and be able to run this bike with a belt drive. So you could have a single speed belt drive setup to make it a ultimate durable commuter, or in this case, coming with an Advent 9-speed setup. So you go from an 11 to 42 tooth out back through this 9-speed cassette. The Advent derailleur has an on-off switch for your clutch mechanism, so that's going to keep the chain from slapping the chainstay, keep it nice and quiet. And up front, the shifting is going to be handled via an Advent shifter, so thumb button to go to an easier gear and thumb button to the front for a harder gear. And that's going to shift through the rear derailleur with a single ring up front. Of course, on the aluminum handlebar and alloy stem, we also have Tektros M275 hydraulic disc brakes, a 2-piston caliper front and rear that are flat mount just like a road bike. And that's where I should mention this bike, the Voya E Plus 3, is the flat bar variant, but they also make an E Plus 1, which comes with a drop bar and Shimano's GRX gravel group set. And making this bike gravel capable, it's of course wide tire clearance, with this bike coming stock with a Kenda Quick Journey 700 by 37 seat tire, and plenty of room to go well past 40 millimeters in both the frame and the rear triangle. The position on the bike is neutral to upright like a fitness bike, and if you'd like more of that drop bar position, of course you have that Voya E Plus 1 to work with as well. Now coming down to the electronics on the bike, we've got a power button, which is going to power us up. We've got our battery charge on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side is going to be our level. Now, when the blue light comes up on this Ride Control Go integrated LED display, that means that this is an auto mode. And Momentum has a really cool setup with the motor and drivetrain of this bike, where it has 4 sensors to manage the auto mode. So basically, you've got a torque sensor through how much effort you're putting out on the pedals. You've got a cadence sensor, which is monitoring how quickly you're pedaling, the revolutions. You've got your speed sensor, of course, integrated into the hub, and an inclinometer that is integrated into the system to be able to pick up for both headwinds and incline. And that means as you're going through, if the cadence stays about the same and the torque picks up on what you're putting in, the bike will know it needs to respond. Or let's say torque is going in, it's seeing that the bike is starting to go up on an angle and the load is causing you to have a slower cadence. The battery is really going to kick in and take over to help you out in that auto mode. Or on the flip side, you got a tailwind behind you, it can even reduce the amount of power that's being put out all on its own. Really cool setup because then you don't have to adjust it while you ride. But if you do want to adjust it, you've got your fastest mode. You do have the off mode where this is going to ride much like a normal bike. Being sub 40 pounds, you can get away with that. Just one bar for low assist, and then you're going to have your medium assist back to full power. And if you press and hold for a second, it'll go right back to the auto mode. Really cool setup on this bike. And that's where we should talk about the battery and the motor. So the rear motor on this bike is a sync drive 250 watt rear motor. It puts out 25 Newton meters of torque, which I'm sure you'll notice is actually a very light assist. Mid assist bikes are in the 40s to 50 Newton meters. High assist bikes can be even as high as 85 or 90 Newton meters. So this bike is really designed around augmenting your own riding rather than having a full-fledged, full-power e-bike experience. So give you that boost back up the hill. When you set it up with a rack on the rear, rack up front, all that kind of stuff, it's going to give you the ability to go the speed of, say, when you were riding without your gear, and it assists all the way up to 20 miles per hour. Past that, in the down tube is a 250 watt hour battery. This is a Panasonic celled battery that comes with a 4 amp hour charger. Now, the reason I bring up the 4 amp hour charger is because that's actually pretty unique to a bike like this, especially at the lower price point side of things. A 4 amp hour charger means that 100% charge comes in at under 3.5 hours from fully flat, and an 80% charge comes in at just about 2 hours. And to compare that to some of the other high-end brands, high-quality major manufacturers, you're talking most of those are a 2 amp hour charger charging at roughly half the speed. And having spent quite a bit of time riding the E+3 and the E+2, having been able to do some hills, be able to do some high heat, high effort work on the bike, and I'm really impressed with how it rides. It is a 40-pound bike, or 39 and change is the claimed weight, and so the bike does have a little bit more solid and a slightly harsher ride than, say, a traditional gravel bike would, especially since those Kenda tires are focused around flat protection. They're not the smoothest riding tires in the world, but the 25 Newton meters of torque out back is more than enough to help me get up some hills, help me get around and have some fun. And the limit getting up to 20 miles per hour is a bit nicer than some of the other bikes I've ridden. And why I say that is I had a Raleigh that went up to 20 miles an hour as well, and it had the Shimano step setup, which had this really hard hit when you hit 20 miles per hour where it just cut off. The Momentum drivetrain lightens up as you're getting closer and closer to your speed limit to allow the bike to kind of settle in and almost relax as you get up to it. So you don't really feel that electric power being taken away from you when you hit the speed limit. I hope you enjoyed watching this video on the Momentum Voya E+3. As you can tell, I'm pretty happy with the bike, but go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up and definitely subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this to check out as well.